Did your time with Whitesnake just run its course?
Well, not really. I mean, it only ran its course because I had been so dedicated to David that I kind of let some other aspects of my personal life go, and that being marriages. So I had it's not David's fault at all. It's my fault.
It's the industry's fault.
I was 1,000% Whitesnake, and David and I spent a lot of hours together, and I just left my first wife. I got divorced I think it was like the first or second year I was in Whitesnake, and then my second wife, who I had a son with, and I just left her alone too much, and she just got burned out. I didn't realize how hard it is with a little kid, raising a little kid by yourself. It's very stressful. Yeah. It's very frustrating, and can be a little demeaning to you, because you just feel like, okay, my husband's off playing with Whitesnake all over the world, and I'm here, and she was really good about it, but she just needed a break, and we kind of started drifting apart, and so once we got divorced, we had actually kind of split up prior to the last Whitesnake tour, and I said to her, look, you got to stay, because I can't be at home and take care of my boy. I want to take care of him, but I can't do it now because I promised David I'm doing this tour, and we're supporting a record. We were supporting a live record, I think. And so then when the tour was over in 2013, David said, I'm not sure what the plan is, so we'll just kind of take some time and see what happens. And I got this offer to play in Vegas at this theater with a bunch of guys like Robin McCauley from Michael Schenker, cool, and Howard Leese from Heart, and Hugh McDonald, Jay Shellen, who I had played in a band with. And it was basically a full-on rock show cover band with all these guys.
So it was a residency in Vegas.
Yeah,
right, cool.
Called Raiding the Rock Vault. It's still going, by the way. I do it once or twice a year. I'll still go over there and play. But it was great, because you just basically, we were living, me and my son and my girlfriend were living in this 2-bedroom suite in a hotel, and I could basically go down anytime I wanted and play through my live rig. And I was with my boy all the time. Perfect. And so then David called and said, hey, I've got this idea to do the Purple record. And I was like, great, I'll start flying up, and so I'd come up, but I could only really, they wouldn't let me have a lot of time off because they were building that show up. And so, but the time I was off, I went up to David and we started banging through the demos of what was the Purple record. And it just, the bottom line is that I couldn't commit to being there full time anymore. At least at that time. I needed to be with
your son.
Be with my boy and make sure that my girlfriend wasn't left alone. I didn't want to scare her away. Although my boy is amazing, I didn't want her to be like, he's just getting me as a babysitter or something. Yeah. It was not the case. It just happened that I wanted him with me. Normally, kids go with their mom, and now he's with his mom sometimes too. But at the time, she needed to go and travel,
a break.
Clear out. So I told David, look, I gotta tap out, and
he must have understood.
He, the way that it went down was a little bit, I think, frustrating for him, because, it was my decision, and he's the boss. It's always been Coverdale's Whitesnake, so he's used to making the decisions and the calls, but I could tell he was getting a little bit irritated by my schedule, and I was, I was making really good money doing the residency thing, and just I wanted to be settled. So I told him, and it was I didn't really talk to him that much, and we would text once a year at Christmas or whatever. But now we're on a much friendlier
terms again. Then.
Yeah,
good.
I mean, I've always loved him. It was just just got a little weird in the beginning, but of course we still respected each other. We were both really proud of the work we had done together.
Well, talking about your loyalty, I remember you telling me last year that you turned down Guns N' Roses because you were still with David.
Well, I turned down an audition for Guns N' Roses. I don't know if I would
have got the job.
I don't know. It was back when they were doing. They had DJ Ashba.
Yeah. They
got DJ Ashba to do the gig, but it was Dizzy that called me, and Dizzy's Dizzy's my bro, and he called me. And I was sitting next to David, and Dizzy goes, "Hey Doug, you want to, we're looking for a guy to kind of do the lead parts a lot. We've got Richard Fortus, we've got Bumblefoot, and we want somebody that's going to play more the bluesy Slash style." So I was like, "Yeah, but do you know him in Whitesnake, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, I know you're. I mean, I go, I saw you. We were in Chicago. You came to the gig." He goes, "Yeah, I was. He had a couple drinks that night." So he goes, "I remember seeing you, but I didn't." I go, "Yeah, I'm in Whitesnake, dude. So I'm not. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it." But I told Dizzy, I go, "I've put a lot of effort into this, and we're in the middle of making our first full record together. It's the first Whitesnake record for a long time, and I am not going anywhere." And he's like, I totally get it, understood. And so, and then David's like, Douglas, who was that?" I'm like, "That was the keyboardist from Guns N' Roses asking me to join the band or to audition." And he's like, "Of course you made the right decision."
It's a very good impression of David's voice.
I could do better. Sorry, DC. I could do better.
He has a he's got a very English voice. It's not an accent, but he's got a very English voice.
He's still a proper gent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, he's got a new record out, which I'm really excited about. I think everybody is excited about.
Yeah, they've released 2 singles so far.
Yeah.
Which are absolutely awesome.
Yeah. So it's really good for the band. It's good for the industry. It's good for everybody. The more that that Whitesnake does well is good for the scene that we're all into.
Yeah.
So
it's still got Joel and Reb.
Yeah, same lineup as the Purple.
Yeah.
Same lineup, and Tommy. Yep, of course, Tommy and Michael Devin.
Yeah.
Kind of the secret weapon. Oh, actually, and Macaulay, I forget his last name, but the keyboardist player is a buddy of mine, and he's amazing. So they're getting ready to set off. They're in rehearsals right now, from what I see online.
Excellent.
I saw a picture of David and George Lynch and Michael, and it was funny because the last time I remember seeing George at a rehearsal was when I was in Whitesnake, and George came to a rehearsal, and at that time Brian Tishy was playing drums.
Right.
George comes in the room and he's smoking a cigarette, and I go, "George, you got to put that out, man. DC's coming. He's gonna kill us if he smells that smoke." And of course, the door opens. "God bless this house and all in it," and it's like, fuck. So he took the cigarette and gave it to Tishy, and Tishy chucked it in his cowbell and put his hand over it, and George is sitting there going like this, and then. It was funny because David left after a few minutes and went to the other room where I think some of the other guys were working on some other stuff. And we got the smoke out of there, and we got the cigarette out of there, and George left. DC left. And then DC left to go somewhere, and he's a very happy driver. Like, he'll just be like, "Oh, look at that over there," and he bumped into George's car on the way out of the parking lot. Wow. So the next day, George said, he went to David and said, "Hey, DC, listen, you hit my car." And David, "What? What do you must be mistaken, And he's like, "No, it's, I think it was on video or something, it was David bumping right into George's car." Right. So they got it fixed and stuff. But it was just funny,
Excellent.
So there they are at Mate's rehearsal in Los Angeles. Sorry, I just gave it away where they're at. So yeah, it was an amazing experience to work with David and learn so much from him about a lot of things, and he really is my big brother. And one day we'll hang out and have a laugh about everything. But right now he's doing his thing. I'm doing Dead Daisies and Burning Rain. Yeah.
We'll come on to Burning Rain a bit. So Dead Daisies. Did you get the call from Marco, because you worked with him in Whitesnake?
Yeah.
Did you get the call from Marco to join Dead Daisies?
Yeah, I had gotten a call from Marco about filling in because Richard had gotten injured in a motorcycle accident. Right. And they had 2 months of dates at the end of 2015. But I was touring with Glenn Hughes actually at that time.
Yeah.
And I had committed to Glenn to do. It was actually, I just had 2 shows left in Japan, but I committed to Glenn, and I was kind of part of the bill a little bit, so I just didn't want to. It just would have been bad form again to cut out. So I just told the Dead Daisies I can't do it, and then they got somebody, and then they called me later and asked about, do I want to join the band and do a record? And I thought, that sounds great, man. That would be really fun. They're all buddies of mine, and at the time Tishy was in the band. He is one of the greatest drummers out there, and
you've known Krabby for a long time,
since we were kids.
Yeah.
Since around 1979, we met.
That is a long time.
Yep. Yeah. He was the singer of a band called Fragile that my friend played bass for, Jerry Best, who was in Lion as well. Right. He played bass in that band, so I met. They would rehearse at Jerry's house back in the late 70s, and I met John, and he was super cool, and I'd known, we had kept in touch in LA. He had a band, and it was at the same time Lion, and then he got the Scream going, then he was in Motley when I was doing Bad Moon Rising, and so I met David Lowy, and David and I talked on the phone I didn't meet him, we talked on the phone for several hours and discussed about what the situation was, and he just seemed like a great dude, I really liked him, and I really liked playing with him. His guitar style is very different than mine, and I love what he does. If I'm going to play with another guitar player, it works really well. Although I love playing with Reb too, but Reb and I always would. Sometimes, when you got two lead guitar players, you step on each other's toes a little.
But David doesn't play lead at all, does he?
He does a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
But it's not so much. It's the thing is that I learned, one of the things I learned in Whitesnake was it's really cool when you have two different styles. And me and Reb did have different styles, but it took us a little while to gel. But once we did, it was really cool. Like it probably is right now for them. I haven't seen them with this lineup, but I'm sure it's similar now because Reb's got his thing and Joel does his thing. But when I'm working with David, his style is a very innocent, youthful approach, and with a lot of attitude. And I wanted some of that. I wanted to learn some of that as well as add to it with the bluesy side.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I saw you was when you headlined Hard Rock Hell Festival in November last year. I've seen you probably 6 or 7 times. That was the best I've seen you.
Yeah,
that was the best I've seen the Dead Daisies.
Good. Well, we always. That's one thing about David Lowy that's really amazing. I learned a lot from him as well. I do learn from him is that he runs the band like a business. It's like he's a very successful businessman on the side. And so he runs the band the same way, and at first I was a little bit not sure how to take that, but then I realized we're making really good progress, faster than normal. And one of the things we would do is just kind of every day we would discuss the set list, the ins and outs, and like a whole band meeting. And it really helps you to focus and center and do stuff, because prior to that, you would just show up or with David, I'd kind of help him with the set list sometimes, or he'd ask me, what do you think about this? And then he would figure it out, and then the tour manager would print it out, and then you'd look at it, it'd be on the wall, and you go, okay, that's the set list, pretty much know what we're doing. But if you go through it point by point, you can even be tighter. So that's what Dead Daisies does every day.
And that's all David's idea.
Yeah, he's just like, look, this means a lot to me that we discuss what we did, what went wrong yesterday, or what we could do better today, and it's turned into be something that really would ground me. Like now I'm here with Burning Rain, and we're shooting from the hip, running by the seat of our pants, and we're making up a set list at the last minute. I'm like, wait, we got to tape it on the wall and do a briefing. I can't do a set. Like
that's the way you have to work now.
Well, I like it better.
Yeah.
Last night was our first night doing this, and we just kind of did a run and gun, and it was fine. But there's only 2 of us. When you got 5 or 6 guys, it's good to plan ahead a little bit.